In this video, we will cover the lesson components for grades 6 through 8 in EduSmart Science. And by lesson components, I mean what is inside EduSmart that you can use as a teacher for your students. So we're going to start at the Content Library tab, not My Library subtab, but Science Library. Not pre-built assignments, Science Library subtab. Then choose your grade level. And let's go to 8th grade. And for just demonstration purposes, we'll go to Earth and Science, plate tectonics, how about? And let's start with the instruction module. Play preview button, help you look at what's there. You can start. I'm going to go ahead and skip the intro.
As you know, there are 7 continents on Earth. Which 2 continents look like they could fit together?
There are built-in pauses, intentional pauses for discussion.
If you look carefully at the shapes of South America and Africa, you'll notice that they look like pieces of a puzzle that fit together.
Notice that I can make it bigger for presentation. And I can continue to play.
In the early 1900s, this puzzle-like fit led scientist Alfred Wegener to put forward the theory that the continents were once part of one large landmass called Pangaea. This means that South America and Africa were once neighbors.
So imagining that
Wegener's theory, called continental drift, explained why identical animal fossils like that of the Mesosaurus were found on coastlines separated by vast oceans. The Mesosaurus was too small to swim across the Atlantic. The continental drift theory could also explain the matching of large geological features across continents. For example, the North American Appalachian Mountains line up with mountains in Scotland and Scandinavia.
Okay, so let's just say that I want to use this moment to discuss something that we've already talked about or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and use the annotative tools here or markup tools, and I might call on some students and see if they can use these tools to, say, explain what's going on. They might choose a color, or you can teach them how to do this themselves. And you can always make a screenshot, by the way, to make your own anchor chart. This might be a topic where we're really trying to visualize how these line up here, and what's being talked about, which mountain ranges were mentioned, and so on. Then I might call on a different student for added whatevers, that does some annotation for me and whatever, using either the markup tools here, or if you're in your class on a smartboard, whatever. It's a good idea. There's a whiteboard that pops up. You can mute, you can replay, go backwards and forward, just to let you know that if you assign this individually to students, they have to go all the way to the summary to get credit for the usage of the entire instruction module. Now we'll go back and we'll take a look at something that's very important called the Instruction Module Companion. So here we see View Printables. Now in the new EduSmart updates, you're going to see this as a separate component. So you'll see this is a fillable one. The blue one's a Google Doc. These two are PDFs. You will be able to assign to your students separate Google Doc or PDF. It's going to be as a separate component. There will be tabs for PDF or Instruction Module Companion, Google Fillable. Let's take a look at the Google Fillable. and it's going to say we can make a copy here. That's just a very good idea to do with a Google Doc. There are ways to push this out to force and make a copy to your students, by the way, and it's easy to do. Separate training that I will supply. And now this first part is a note-taking guide that goes in the exact order of the instruction module. All of the essential vocabulary done in the exact order of the instruction module. Your students can learn to go along with the instruction module and fill in the blanks to master the vocabulary. Then there's a graphic organizer that breaks it down in a scaffolded manner, and all they have to do is double click here and it pops up as drawing tool. They'll fill it in, save and close, and then you can get those results. Here's the journal prompt. Strong visual literacy breaks everything down step by step, what they need to do. There's a lot to do here, right? It's a complex idea, complex concept that if they can show their understanding, you've really done something. So obviously they would click in here to enter their answers and then submit and share it with you as a Google Doc in whatever way you decide. There's lots of ways to use Google Docs. Let's go back then and show you the next component. The next component that we'll cover is going to be the student review.
As you know, there are 7 continents on Earth. Which 2 continents look like they could fit together? If you look carefully at the shapes of South America and Africa, you'll notice that they look like pieces of a puzzle that fit together. In the early 1900s, this puzzle-like fit led scientist Alfred Wegener to put forward the theory that the continents were once part of one large landmass called Pangaea. This means that South America and Africa were once neighbors. Wegener's theory, called continental drift, explained why identical animal fossils like that of the Mesosaurus were found on coastlines separated by vast oceans. The Mesosaurus was too small to swim across the Atlantic. The continental drift theory could also explain the matching of large geological features across continents. For example, the North American Appalachian Mountains line up with mountains in Scotland and Scandinavia.
So here is where we have the comprehension check built into the student review. So in this component, the student review, there's also text-to-speech right here that you can train your students to, whenever they see this icon and if they need it, they would use that, right? And they're gonna get immediate feedback here. I got lucky, I just guessed. There's more immediate feedback with the answer in text-to-speech and so on. So this student would have earned a complete star for the first of 3 built-in comprehension check questions of every student review. So there would be a solid star in the reporting they see as well as what the teacher sees. The teacher will also get reporting on usage, as in the time and so on. So let's go to the next component. That's the student review. There's reporting for that, for both student and teacher. Next one is the quiz. This is going to be in the teacher's mode, so there's in a present mode. Students see something where they're just taking the quiz. I'm going to be in present mode. Let's say that I want to preview a quiz. My kids are freaking out about how hard this is, so I'm going to just show them the quiz, and see if they can get it together as a class, and let's take some of the heat off of them. I'm going to launch the quiz. There's strong visual literacy right in the quiz. We can show the answer choices when I feel it's time, and then we can talk about it. We can vote on it and so on. Whatever we want to do, we can check answer. Oops, we didn't get it right. And then now that I've chosen that, I can go ahead and say, why is it correct? And so on. And that's true for each and every one. That is the quiz. The kids see something, of course, that's different. And they do get reporting on their results on the quiz, as well as the teacher, of course. And by the way, you can print those quiz results, or you can actually, there's a way to download those quiz results or any assessment result into your gradebook, but that's a separate training. Interactivity, next component. Interactivity, let's look at that.
We seem to be facing some tectonic trouble. Let's solve this by dragging and dropping the arrows above to identify the forces associated with convergent, divergent, and transform boundaries. To solve the plate tectonic puzzle, choose the landform that is most likely to form at the boundary you identify. Drag and drop the correct arrows onto the tectonic plates in the middle so that the diagram represents a convergent boundary. Good job! A convergent boundary is an area where two plates are moving toward one another.
So you can see there's immediate feedback, it's a game-style environment, and it's engaging. Lots of visual literacy. Let's go look at the next component. Simulation, simulated lab. By the way, there's printables, and these are going to be, again, in PDF for teacher and student, or fillable. There is a CER that's claims evidence reasoning, as well as a 5E style lab form. Okay, so we will see these in a second. Let's go ahead and take a look at what a simulated lab is like for this particular TEK, this particular standard.
Have you noticed that not all volcanoes are the same? For example, Mauna Loa, a volcano in Hawaii, looks very different from Mount St. Helens, a volcano in Washington. Why do you think these volcanoes are shaped so differently? To better understand why volcanoes have different shapes, we need to take a closer look at the liquid that forms volcanoes: lava. Not all lava is the same. Lava with a lot of silica is thicker than lava with less silica. How do you think a liquid's thickness affects how fast it flows? Let's compare the flow rate of some liquids found around the house by measuring how long it takes each liquid to flow from one point to another. Of the following common liquids, water, light corn syrup, rubbing alcohol, maple syrup, and baby shampoo, which liquid do you think will have the fastest flow rate? Your answer to the question will be your hypothesis. Choose the hypothesis you think is right. Now that you've selected a hypothesis, you need to move to the next step and set up an experiment to compare the flow rate of the different liquids. To start the experiment, you first have to choose a liquid to test. The liquid you choose will then be poured into a funnel that is connected to a clear rubber tube. The quantity of liquid in the funnel will be the same in each case. Once the stopper between the funnel and tube is removed, you will have to carefully note down the time it takes all the liquid to flow through the tube and into the beaker. Come on, let's get started. Choose the liquid you would like to test first. Select the Start button to remove the stopper. Remember to note down the time it takes the liquid to completely drain into the beaker. Use the number pad to record the data.
Now we're looking at the printables, and we're looking at the CER version. And you can explore on your own the 5E version, just to save some time here. Let's go to the next one, Word Explorer. So what we have here,
flashcard to learn more about the science term. Once you complete the activity successfully, the flashcard will flip over and reveal the formal definition.
This one looks tough, so I'm going to check it out. Sometimes that's actually not common. Usually there's a visual example activity that's included with that. That's actually good that that came up because under Word Explorer normally that's pretty rare if there's not a visual example, you know. So here's the visual examples. There's 3 activities.
Visual examples. One or more images are examples of the term. Select your answers. Select Submit to check your answers. You can make a better selection of the options. Try again. You can make a better selection of the options. Try again. Well done! You successfully completed the activity. Facts. Select one or more facts listed below that you think are true. Select Submit to check your answer.
Notice text-to-speech again. And then if you need,
You can make a better selection of the options. Try again. You can make a better selection of the options. Try again.
since I used this button, Show Answers, it's going to be counted as a lifeline. And so my teacher and I will know that I didn't really understand this very well. Okay?
Well done! You successfully completed the activity. Fill in. Drag and drop all the correct words on the blanks to complete the activity. Select Submit to check your answer. You can make a better selection of the options. Try again.
So this is the basic format. You get immediate feedback, and I'm just going to do some more random guessing, and of course, whatever. Here we go.
You can make a better selection of the options. Try again. Well done! You successfully completed the activity.
See how that one flips over when it's done, and they can still check it out, and they can still listen again to the definition. Poor readers, I highly recommend that you let them know to use these icons all the time whenever they need. Go back to the content library, and let's look at the next component, lesson component. There's a lot in the 8th grade product, by the way, and there are the supporting standards. So if I wanted to see the supporting standards, just scroll down and I can see they're already included. Okay, so now we're at the offline STEM activity. It has printables as well, and that's going to be currently in PDF format in this particular TEK, but sometimes you will see that they have fillable, both CER and 5E style lab forms, or just a regular lab form. Okay, so then you'll see the activity is just going to look like this: a traditional lab, information, instructions, background, and so on. There's some visual literacy. This one looks like one that they could actually do during remote learning, because it looks like a research-oriented one where they have to do a lot of reading and figure out what the heck to do, you know. So this one, I would think, just at a quick glance, the student activity looks to me like one that you might be able to just do, since it's research-oriented, as a remote learning. That can happen sometimes, but a lot of times it's a traditional lab. Go back to content library. And now we're on the journal prompt. This one, it's going to be a journal prompt very similar to what's going to be in the instruction module companion. So it's just going to be a journal prompt with some visual literacy and so on. A little different than the one that you'll find in the instruction module companion that goes with the instruction module. So now let's go ahead and go to, let's say this one, to look at a science reader. Here's a science reader. It's in English and Spanish. Has the TEKS and approaching grade level. You can see, we'll take a slow little tour here. This is grade level. Text, Lexile level, visual literacy, and then built-in quiz, comprehension check. You do get some immediate feedback here as a student. Teachers get reporting. You can go over everything. This is going to be graded 1 through 4 automatically since it's just a true or false at the end. Sometimes it's fill in the blank, which, and then they type in their answer here, and so on. They type here. Once they finish, it's graded automatically and they get immediate feedback as well as an appropriate answer for the last question. But if your readers are not up to grade level or they need some help, there is text-to-speech built in. Good idea to show them. You have these two guys, this robot girl. I like the robot girl, a little less disfluent. And let's hear what she sounds like. She sounds like this.
Introduction. While the day is dominated by our sun, when we think of the night sky, the moon is always close at mind.
Okay, so there's the robot, text-to-speech. And then here we can have visual accommodations. This icon is visual accommodations. You can raise the text size, font size. You can choose a color, background color. A lot of kids have this in their IEPs these days, or it's just a good idea when they're struggling with reading to work on that and consider that, and then the background and the grayscale and so on. So visual accommodations and text-to-speech are built in to the readers. And that is our overview of the lesson components for grades 6 through 8 EduSmart Science. Thank you.